we're going to start with looking at ways to go from slow to go, focusing on how we can use technology to get us better organized and keep us connected, okay? Because we know fatigue can really challenge us in the area of getting out, doing the things that we want to do, and how can we use technology to overcome some of those barriers. So, quick disclosure, there's a lot of different kind of products and companies that I have put into this presentation, and I don't represent any of them, so I'm not endorsing that you use one particular product or one particular system. These are just some ideas of things for us to talk about. All right, so as I said, the focus of this topic is on organization and connection. And I really like the analogy that I've heard used both in the literature as well and working with people with MS, is thinking about that energy bank. Okay, so that's why the little piggy is up there. We only, just like our money, we only have so much energy, right? And so how can we be very cognitive of how we spend that energy, and how can we save energy and put money in the bank? And what I hope you will take away from part of this presentation today is that technology, whether high tech or low tech, might be one way of putting some energy back in your energy bank, okay, so that you can use it and spend it on the things that are important to you. All right, so again, high tech or low tech. If I had to choose where I was, I'm kind of in the middle of that. I'll be honest, I'm not an innovator. I'm not the first person on board with every new gadget that comes out there. I kind of wait and see, let it be tested a little bit on my friends, and then I pick up the spectrum. And I think if, as you hear we talk about today, we're going to talk about both types, high technology things as well as more low tech technology. So with that, I'm curious, by a show of hands, has anyone had a chance to read the article that I presented in the newsletter on MSN technology? Anyone? A couple. Okay. So for those of you that did, you're going to see a lot of this information kind of being repeated and giving us a chance to expand upon that. And for those of you that didn't, some of the resources that I talk about are all listed in that newsletter. So go back and pull your newsletter out if you're interested. The second thing I wanted to ask everyone was, I went ahead and shared where I am on that continuum. I'm curious, by a show of hands, if you had to put yourself along that continuum, being I'm a high-tech gadget person, first category, middle of the road category, or low-tech, keep me away from any of that technology stuff, that's not me at all. Show of hands, who would say you're that high-tech first category? Okay, don't be shy, be brave, we're all friends here. All right, how about the middle group? A number could check. Okay, and then how about the low tech? Oh my gosh, really don't want to go there. Okay, all right, that helps me, and that also helps you guys, because I'm a firm believer that in my work here, that this is a whole, as Pat said, a village, and that I have things to offer you, you have things to offer me, we have things to offer each other. So we're hopefully going to have a few minutes of time at the end for you to kind of pair and share with a colleague, and I encourage you, if you want, get up and maybe, if you're not a high-techer, but you want to be, maybe come over to one of those high-tech people that raised their hand and share some of your ideas. So, and the bottom line with this talk is that I encourage people, no matter where you are on that continuum, is to think about keeping your options open. Okay, in my world, I'm always telling people, be an informed consumer. Know what your options are before you say, gosh, there's no way I can do that. At least have an understanding of what it is that you're saying no or yes to. Okay, and often that means testing it out or trying it at least once before you can really make a judgment of whether it's right or not right for you. And finally, the second thing here is, as I alluded to earlier, the real goal here is we want you to be active in your life and doing the things that are important to you, and how can we use our options to do that. I'm going to skip this slide for right now because we kind of covered it a little bit with where you're on that continuum, but I encourage you at the end of this session, and if there's something that's really burning for you right now that you're like, if she doesn't talk about this, I'm going to be so disappointed, raise your hand right now and tell me what it is. Because if I can address it now, I will. If not, bring it up at the end, okay? Because I think it's important that we all have expectations of what we're wanting when we spend our time, energy, which you're doing here today for me. And if I can help meet that for you, I want to do that, okay? So don't be shy about asking questions. I'm not going to show this whole little YouTube video because it's 8 minutes long, and we don't have that much time here today, but I wanted to put it up here to keep this kind of framing perspective, which is a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about here with technology in the article that I had written as well, is that we're using technology to really help us manage our time and keep our stress levels low, okay? And by better managing our time and our stress levels, that gives us more energy. Has anyone ever heard the analogy of the glass and the rocks? I'm seeing Julie shake her head here, yes. Has anyone else heard this analogy? One shake? Okay. If you go home and Google rocks and sand in a jar, you can pull this little YouTube video. It's really nice. Basically, the analogy is that if you put all the little things in your life first, which the sand represents the little things. You know, I gotta take a shower, and I gotta do the laundry, and I gotta do all these little things sometimes. They have to get done. But if you put all those things in first, then often your really big, important things, you know, like spending time with your family. These are my children. My adopted child, he's 18. My husband and I on a vacation. Wow, I want another one of those. Okay, those big things that are important, sometimes they don't fit into your life. Vacation for me right now. Okay, it's not there because all the little things take up the space. But if you put the rocks in first, put your priorities in first, all those little things will filter their way in, and they'll find a place, and they'll get done. Okay, so you can see that if you put the big things in first, your glass, which represents the time that you have, is balanced. Okay, so just a nice analogy of keeping things in perspective. So getting to the heart of what we're here to do today, which is talking about ideas for technology and going from slow, asleep at your desk, to go, being out and active. And as a PT, of course, I have a walking slide there. Encourage you to be physically active. The first ideas that I'm presenting really are focusing around kind of memory and organization, okay? On this right-hand column is more of the high-tech sort of column. Again, these are just ideas. This list by no means is exhausted. Okay, there's so many different options. On the left is more of kind of the lower tech ideas, okay? I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking a little on the high-tech end. And what I have listed here are really things in terms of, like the first thing says GPS locators. And I talked in the article about utilizing like key finders, okay? If you lose your keys and how much time and energy you can spend trying to find where your keys are, that they have these great little tools that you can put on your keys, and then you can track it on your phone where your keys are. So a little locator, it'll tell you, walk here, you're getting hot, cold sort of thing, okay? It'll tell you how to find your keys, okay? That's a really important thing for me. My husband has worked really hard for me on putting my keys in the same spot, which is the low-tech option over there, which is always put them in the same spot so you don't lose them in the first place, okay? The other thing here on the second bullet says smartphone. Anyone here, show of hands, who has a smartphone? Majority of us these days, okay? As the many roles that Barb talked about that I have, I'm constantly organizing my life so I know where I'm supposed to be. And I encourage a lot of my clients I work with in the clinic as well that if you are someone that has a smartphone, has access to even your computer, different things like that, the technology in today's world is really excellent because you can sync all those things together, okay, and really save you time and energy, and it keeps you up to date of where you are, okay? So for example, I have listed here a Google or an Outlook calendar. Can I have a show of hands of who uses an online sort of calendar? A couple of people, okay, yes? So what's nice about that is you can see it on a big screen on your computer, and then it syncs to your little screen on your phone. So wherever you are, you can look it up. Okay, it's kind of like your date book that you used to have, but it goes with you anywhere and everywhere that you have your phone with you, and it's really nice in that it syncs. And it has task lists and it has reminders. So that's where the organization and the memory kind of work together, okay? Because so I consider myself still in the fairly young spectrum. I still am quite forgetful at times as well. And I have my phone that beeps and reminds me 15 minutes before every appointment that I have, okay? And so you can set these things to go off automatically. You can set things to go off for medications that you're supposed to take. You can set them to go off for the exercise that you need to do, a timer for when it's time to get up from your nap that you're using as an energy management strategy. So there's lots of different ways to use your technology that you have that used to just be for a phone, and now we can expand it to include so many other aspects of our lives. And I put Bluetooth up there, which just, I don't know if those of you have like a Bluetooth printer, or you can actually get a way you can Bluetooth and print from your phone. There's lots of different ways you can connect your devices together so you don't have to get up to get to that device. Okay, so my phone can talk to my printer even though they're not connected. All right, and there's other, so that saves me time and energy of having to go upstairs when I need to do something. So I can use technology to save me energy with those steps at that point in time, so I have energy to exercise later on in my day. On the low tech in there, again, I already talked about X marks the spot. I talked a little bit about timers on your phone, but obviously, you know, you have timers on your watch that you can use. You actually have timers, just a ring timer that you can use to remind yourself when to do things. Even though I'm a very high-tech person and using my to-do list, I still use my sticky notes. So I have things on my computer, I have it on my phone, and I still will write myself a sticky note for those things that are real important. And if it's really high priority, it goes on my hand. And then I get in trouble by my children because I've written on my hand. But you do what you got to do to get it done. Memory book. Okay, so maybe you're not someone as high tech, but we work a lot with our individuals in the clinic sometimes when we're really struggling with, I don't even remember what I just did 5 minutes ago. You know, not just reminding me when to do something, but what did I just do? And so a memory book, basically a journal that you keep with you, and you jot down some of the important things that you do in your day. And that way when you forget, the one thing you have to remember is you open your book, and then it reminds you of the things that you have recently done. A plain calendar can be great. And then the final thing I had listed here was, in terms of the memory piece, in terms of a low-tech option, is with MS and the cognition, with thinking, we know that multitasking is really challenging, okay? So when I have to try to think about 2 or 3 different things and do it at one time, it's really hard for my brain to process all those different things, okay? Then you take MS, and maybe taking some cognitive problems, and then you add the fatigue on top of it, and it really can fall to pieces. So they really talk about the importance of focusing on one task at a time, okay? You're actually gonna be more productive doing one task, finishing it, then getting to your second task, and if you try to do both at the same time, okay? The problem with that is sometimes, you know, you're doing one task and all these other tasks come up that you know you need to do. And that's where I wrote down, you know, thinking about having your notepad or having your voice recorder on your phone to jot down those things that you're thinking that you have to do next. Jot them down so you don't forget them, and then you can come back to them later and get back on the task on hand. Here what I have is I did a lot of talking. Thank you for listening for that. Here are just some pictures to actually show you some of those ideas that I discussed. So we see the GPS key finder that's at the top there. We see the good old-fashioned tie a string on your finger, something to remind you have a task to do. We see, which my husband has worked really hard with me for the last 17 years, as a place to put my keys in my purse. Okay, developing a good habit of putting things in the same spot. If you have a smartphone, you're having a touch computer with your Windows 8, there's so many different apps that are out there that you can use to help organize your life. My Pocket Coach is one that I have that gives me reminders. I can set goals of things that I'm working on for exercise, or slowing down my speech not to talk too fast, or getting enough sleep at night, those sort of things. This just shows an example of those of you that aren't maybe the tech savvy with using a calendar, how you can see here in the center how you can organize all the different things you need to do in your day. You can have different views where you see the whole month versus you just want to see a day or the week. And then over here, you can kind of see it's really small. It shows that task list. And what I like is when you click the box, it actually draws a line through the thing you had to do. I get closure with the line drawing, okay? When that feature came out, I was hooked on the task list. And most of the things that I talk about with technology, I am a Google and Android user. So probably a lot of iPhone and Mac users out here too. And so there's options for both of those, of course. All right, any questions about kind of the memory and the organization before we move on to communication? I kind of just gave you an overview. I'm going to talk about kind of how to implement these in as we move forward. Okay, we'll keep going. So the next big area was really on communication and connection. So I had a client that I saw a couple years ago that just told me, I think he had a smartphone before I did, the voice to text was amazing for him because his hand dexterity was not the best. And he was really struggling with typing emails on the computer. Definitely he was not getting the text on the phone, but when voice to text came out and you could just speak it, it was revolutionary for him and his ability to communicate. All right, and they have voice to text on like everything. You can voice to email now. You can do all of those things. And I'll show you again some pictures to go with these words on the next slide. DragonSpeak is a much more sophisticated system that's out there if you're someone that has a lot of like documentation that you need to do, work on the computer, Word documents. You can actually get a program that allows you to speak and it will type all those things for you. IntelliKeys or Big Keys is just a really big keyboard. So again, if you're having some trouble with that dexterity in your fingers, it just makes the keys bigger and easier for you to hit those keys to keep you connected. The other area with MS that can be challenging is vision. So maybe for you, your issue is being able to see the things that you want to see. Or maybe you guys have all three of these because they can compound. But magnifiers for reading. I had a client of mine, again, you guys teach me all these things, who she's like, I got these from one of these great drug reps who gave me this little magnifier. And it's simple. She got it for free. She takes it with her everywhere, and she uses it to read all of her documents. Okay? If you're on the computer, almost every computer has a magnifying function, right, where you can make it bigger. Or I'm on the computer a lot, I'm always control+ing my screen to get that screen bigger and make it easier on my eyes so my eyes don't fatigue. Okay? So those are things to think about. There's also audiobooks, okay, for those of you guys that like to read. Your library has ebooks. Okay, my children got tablets for Christmas. They're so excited they can play Angry Birds. Mom loves it. But they also can now, with the library app, go on and download ebooks on their tablets, and they can either read them, and we can get audiobooks as well where they're read to them. Okay, so there's lots of different options there as well to keep you connected. For some people, speaking is the problem. It's challenging to get the mouth to formulate the words that you want to express. So if that's your issue, what are options for you with technology? Dynavox is probably the leader in the field on speaking technology. I work a lot with clients with ALS as well, and for them, speech is a very significant problem very early on, so I've seen a lot of this technology in that clientele that I work with. But basically, these are systems where you can type what you want and it'll say it out loud for you, where you can program in certain phrases of things. You can record them in your own voice, particularly if you're having a good time of speaking, that will use your voice later. Or you can have ones where it just gives you that kind of Siri sort of monotone, normal kind of tone of speech, kind of more computerized speech that it'll say your words for you. That is one option. ICOM, and there's another one, ProQ, are some less expensive options. ICOM is actually an app that you can do on your iPad or on your phone that gives you some similar options to Dynavox if you're wanting to try something out. Okay, so those are things I recommend people to look into. Next, the next four are really about connection, okay? So sometimes I hear people with MS sharing with me, due to all these different challenges, they have energy and are walking or whatever it is, that they don't feel as connected perhaps with their family and the friends that they want. And again, those were the things that were meaningful to them, right? So, luckily in today's technology, I don't have to leave my house to talk to my friends anymore. I don't even have to talk to my friends. I can look on Facebook to see what my friends are doing these days. But these are definitely your tools that you can be using through technology to keep you connected. MS Connection is one through the National MS Society that they sponsor. That's all for people with MS, and they have different forums and things so that you can connect with other people with MS, share your stories, learn from others about things that can be helpful to you. And I'll show you a little schematic of that. So that's something that's really encouraging that's out there. The next, Facebook, Twitter, of course. I personally am a huge advocate of Skype. It's a great, and if you guys, anyone here Skype? Want a couple people there in the back row. Skyping is great because you can video chat. You can video talk to people in live time anywhere internationally for free. For free. So I can talk to my dissertation chair in Canada for free through my phone, through Skype, or on my computer through Skype. And it's great because you have that face-to-face interaction as well. So that's something I encourage people to consider. So here shows you some pictures to go with those words. The top two here were some of those communication devices for speech, some of those apps that will help people communicate if you're struggling there. On the bottom is that keyboard example that I mentioned. On the left-hand side, we kind of see that voice to text. If you ever see this, speak now. When you Google something, you can always hit that button so you don't have to type it in, you can just speak it in. And then Adobe Reader is a nice program that you can be using for having books read out loud for you or documents read out loud for you. Even Word documents, you can convert them to PDF, and the PDF will read them for you, okay? And here's some examples of some of those connecting in the community. So we see someone Skyping on their iPad. We see the MS connection through the National MS Society down here. And then we see the St. Louis MS Center's Facebook page there on the left-hand column too. So I encourage you to think about those areas of connection. Real quick, other ideas, things that are out there in terms of technology. I think is a nice one is like I mentioned the article was a remote start. So Dr. Rashway talked about, and as many of you know, heat can be a big component of fatigue and MS association. So if you can have your car started and cooling off for you before you get in that, how wonderful would that be? So remote starts anywhere from I've seen some as low as 75, but I would question that up to $250, $300, which is a chunk of money to invest. But at the same time, sometimes investing money in your bank and you get paid off on dividends, okay? Sometimes think about the long-term haul. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to look something up, find out what you want to do, save the money to make that appropriate. Then once that change is done, then you don't have to do anything. Then you click one button and it just keeps giving you the rewards back and back. Versus exercise, which is what I usually preach. You kind of have to keep doing that. I can't just exercise once and then I'm good for the next month. It doesn't work that way, okay? But some of these technology ideas, once you take the time to invest into learning them, using them, getting them, they just keep giving you benefits back, okay? So we did a lot of talking here about things you could be thinking about doing, so how would you actually put those into practice? There's a spectrum called Stage of Change about where you are on making a change in your life. So I talked about ideas. You guys are obviously stayed in the session thinking there might be something you could gain in technology. So you're all thinking about it, okay? So great, we're all on the bottom of the ladder. So what you want to do now is thinking about how would you want to move up that ladder to make a change for maybe one or two ideas from this talk or something that comes later from today, all right? And how can we move into doing steps to prepare for an action we're going to do, actually taking action, and then making it a habit. Okay, putting my keys in the same spot. It really did probably take me 15 years to get good at that, all right? And my husband's support along the way. But we got there. And I think the important thing with MS is too is, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, is that you might make a change now, but MS changes too. So you're making these goals and these habits you're wanting to put in place, but I recognize, and I know you recognize, that those have to be flexible habits. So what might work for me today might be a little different than what works for me tomorrow. And how can I adapt that a little bit so that I still get the things done that I need to do? Okay, so how to. So how to spend your time and energy dollars well with technology. So I am a firm believer of goal setting. I'm a type A, make lists, goal personality, but there's good literature too that if you actually set a goal, you are 2 to 3 times more likely to meet it. Okay, so if you just take the time to even make a written or verbal commitment to something, it helps. And it's real important when you're looking at setting a goal is to make it something that you can actually meet, okay? And that's where the start small comes in, okay? So you might have a goal, say you're so inspired from this talk, you're gonna run out, you wanna set up the Google Calendar, and you're gonna sync all your devices, and you're gonna get your life organized, and you're gonna have these reminders going for all your medications, and you're gonna, the list just goes on and on. You're all pumped up from today. All right? That's a lot of things to do. So you want to pick one of those, okay? And think about setting a goal that's realistic. So I'm going to, talk to my friend that is tech savvy and ask them to show me on the computer how this might work. That might be your first goal. Not to get the whole task done, but the steps involved in getting to that task. So setting goals and starting small. The other thing in there that I encourage people with technology is that for some of these higher tech ideas do involve a little bit more of an investment of dollars. And so you want to think about really doing your homework, okay? Talk to the peers that you know and trust that hopefully have that piece of technology. See if you can use it ahead of time. Go to a number of different vendors. Use your resources online to read reviews about different equipment that you're thinking about, so that you're kind of going in there as that informed consumer with your eyes open about what the pluses and minuses are for this piece of technology that you're considering. Okay? And with that, know the return policy. Right? If you don't like it, know that you can send it back. Know what you need to keep so you can send it back. Because there's nothing more discouraging than putting your time and energy into something and having it fail and then feeling stuck. And then you're not motivated to try the next time around. So build into whatever change you're thinking of kind of a safety net. Okay, if this doesn't work, how can I be better prepared for the next time around? The next one there I have, I said, is get support. And again, I'm a firm advocate. When I got my phone, I actually have only had this really touchscreen smartphone since March. My 18-year-old got the exact same phone. And do you know why? Because when I can't figure something out, I go, Shelby, my phone is stuck and I can't get it to do this. And she picks it up, and in like 3 seconds, she's got it fixed for me. Okay? So if you have friends that are connected, I'm a firm believer, use those connections to your benefits, okay? Only step outside your comfort zone as much as you can, have support to be good in that change, okay? The other thing is, I'm in the rehab professional world, and I encourage you to think about that there are professionals that can give you some advice in terms of particularly the technology like the Dynavox and some of the big keys. If you're having trouble with the physical aspects of MS, impeding your ability to communicate, whether it's the hands or the visions or the thinking and processing, speech and language pathologists and occupational therapists are really two really good tools in the rehab realm that could help you, that could sit down with you, do an assessment, help you individually evaluate what are some of your options and set some of these plans moving forward. So I encourage you, if you're thinking about that, don't forget to use the healthcare resources that you have as well, and talk to the great staff at the center and let them know that you're interested in something like that. And finally, not to forget that if you're already really tech savvy and doing a lot of these great things, that maybe you need to be limiting your time that you're on Facebook, or limiting the time that you're Google searching things, because that can take energy as well. Okay, and we do want to have a balance that we're spending our energy dollars wisely. The last thing here just says rewards, which is kind of my summary take-home message, which is investing in the right technology and taking the time to develop these healthy habits and perspectives hopefully can help make a world of difference for you. It can help you do more and be more with the people you love. And I'm always a big advocate of keeping your world large. Okay? Sometimes with MS, people feel like it's harder and harder for them to get out, do the things, and their world is getting smaller and smaller, and they're in this little box. I refuse to accept that. And technology is a great way to help keep your box open and keep you connected. Okay? And this puts us down to, I'm getting a chance to be done speaking for a few minutes, and I think we have with questions and answers, Pat, we have like another 5? No, like 2 minutes, okay, with questions and answers, okay. Well, so I'm gonna open this up to questions. While we're doing that, if you don't have a burning question, what I'd like for you to do is just take these 2 minutes that we have and talk to a peer and think about one thing that we talked about today that kind of stuck you, that you're thinking that you might want to move forward on, okay? And jot that down on that piece of paper you have today, okay? All right, so with that, any questions? Then keep working. I'm going to walk around the room and see how you're doing.